Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Atlanta SEO for Local Businesses meetup. We meet the second Wednesday of the month at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on Meetup, Facebook, and YouTube. We like to get our videos posted on YouTube. Try to get it the same week. Sometimes I might not do it till the Monday after, but I aim for Friday. So that's where you're going to find all of our videos is on YouTube. I've also got this link in the chat, and I'm gonna for YouTube post it there as well. Links to our all the channels, Facebook, Meetup, and YouTube. I'm gonna have all those posted there, and that's in the chat for you. And today our topic is a local SEO Q&A. Amy Toman is here with me, and I think I forgot I'm Tricia Clements. And Andy Simpson is my co-organizer, and he will be back with us in January. Our next meetup is Wednesday, January 11th. So make sure you put that on your calendar. I'm working on our topic for January, so stay tuned. That will be that'll be up soon. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and have Amy and I go ahead and start out. So I think we have a first question in the chat, so we're going to go ahead with that. And okay, so and when I'll let Amy, you guys have met Amy, but Amy, go ahead and introduce yourself quick and just.
Okay. Hi. I'm Amy Toman. I work with Andy Simpson actually at Digital Law Marketing. I'm also a Google product expert for Google Business Profiles, which means that I'm one of the kind of the top contributors on the forum. People have questions, everything from something basic to where do I find something in the new interface to this is screwed up, help me. I do that. I'm not Andy. I'm not as great as Andy in some areas, but I do have my areas of specialty. And Trish and I met 4 years ago.
I think it was longer because after 2020, it's like a blur. So I think it was like 20.
I want to say it was 18. It was either 18 or 19.
Yeah. So that's 5 years. No, that's 4 years. Almost 5 years. 2020. Almost 5 years. I feel like
I'm based at the Jersey Shore. I do legal SEO during the day, and I also help small businesses at night on the side, doing everything from listing, getting their Google listings back, reinstatements, to helping people create Google listings from the outset so they can't be, well, hopefully can't be suspended. This is Google we're dealing with, but yeah, that's pretty much, I do a lot of stuff.
Definitely keep in mind with when Amy's talking about suspensions, sometimes it's something that you didn't follow the guidelines and that you messed up, but there are times that Google makes mistakes. I know, shocking. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it could be something that you did that was not correct, and sometimes it could just be Google.
I've got to tell you, we've had a few recently that really just blew my mind, and what it was they just disappeared. The listings are just gone. They're not in the person's dashboard. They're not visible online. And it's just awful because Google will sometimes say, oh no, it wasn't us. And we're like, well, then where did it go? Because these people say they didn't know anything about it. So again, there are times, and it can definitely be key to Google seeing something that's not there or doing something. And you have to kind of make sure you've covered yourself, and you have your supporting paperwork, you have your links, you have your emails, and
definitely.
Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't.
I've had a couple of those that I've worked with, and I think Google's kind of come back and said, oh yeah, I know a couple. I've had at least 2 that I think that there were reasons that Google suspended it, then actually removed it from the account, but the dashboard, and where I think they were in violation guidelines. But then there was one that I believe what happened is, like, sometimes Google, when you look at things in the dashboard, it's not quite as clear what you're looking at. And I had one that I think when they tried to removed themselves from a business they were no longer going to manage. I think they said remove the business, and it removed it from the map. So you be very careful about that. That took a while to get back, a couple of weeks to get back, but definitely be very careful of that.
Yeah, these are ones that would not be able to be returned. And that's the saddest part. Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
No, this is awesome. I'm saying these were not suspended. These were just
removed. Yeah. Oh, yikes. Okay, let's go to our questions. Our first one, Bill has a question. He says, issue with maps not showing an established business. The rankings drop. How do you diagnose and troubleshoot that? So,
yeah, two separate questions.
Okay.
So the first one is established business. They've got a Google profile,
a listing.
Yes.
Website that we've optimized a little bit over the years. They do laser engraving, laser etching, so there's not a lot of competition for it. They're a local business just up the road. And what he was sharing with me was, so when you search for the business, the little map in the knowledge panel shows up, and you click on it, and it shows the business there on the map. But if you just go to and open Google Maps just by itself, and then, zoom and scroll and find, where his business is located, it doesn't show. And he's been in that location for 10 years.
When you say that you open the map and you zoom and scroll and you don't see it, what is there a search term you're putting in, or what are you doing?
No. So you can just bring up maps and just look at stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I just scroll up the road and then zoom in, and you can see his neighbor who's only been in that space for a couple of years, and he's gone. And so we went to the other day, we went to a restaurant. We drove past his business, and I thought, well, let me check it. Sometimes there's just a glitch, a blip, and maybe it came back, on its own. So we were standing there waiting to get seated, and I searched, and nope, still wasn't there. And we were, right next to his location. Different browsers, different phones, still just Google Maps.
Okay.
So it was showing on mine because I actually made it a favorite probably a few years ago. So I told my son, hey, John, just pull it up and see if you could find it. So my son had never visited that site before, and it wasn't there.
Okay.
And so, and it's one of those things where if anybody was searching for his business, you would do a search, you'd click on the map, you'd find it. If you went to the website and clicked on the location, you would find it. I think it was only the owner who said, I'm gonna, just look at the map. Sometimes we just look at maps. And
so I think understand. So basically you're opening the map and just searching, just looking at the area, not putting any search terms at all in, and it's not coming up. So that's something, Google just kind of determines what they're going to show as far as when you open and look on the map. And if you don't have a search term in, they're just kind of randomly, putting things in there. And I think they're probably using, and Amy, after I finish jumping, because I'm sure you've got to add stuff to add to this, but they're putting things in that people go to more regularly. Like you'll notice when you just pull up the map and search, you might find a restaurant that is that's frequented a lot, and where that one probably does not have nearly as much traffic as, like, say, a restaurant. And then a lot of times you'll see fast food and pharmacies and things like that. So I don't know that it's necessarily an error, because if they're searching for search terms and the business name and they're coming up in the results, then that's what they pretty much want. Amy, jump in and add what your thoughts are.
Yeah, generally, if you search, it sounds like you're going in just on the maps and you're not searching. Right. If you search on the listing title in that same application, whether it's maps or search, if you search on the business name and the location, does it come up?
Yes.
Okay, then if you went to Google would say that this is acting as expected.
Yeah.
They do choose who comes up other than that, but if you have a further question, bring it to the forum. My guess is that as long as it comes up for the listing title and the location, Google is not gonna do anything about it.
Yeah.
Question for you though. Do they have a shop? They have a shop. Does the address show on the listing?
Yes, yes.
Make sure they have signage, right? Because the
On the,
address shows they have to have
exterior?
permanent signage, and I would make sure that there are photos on the listing of this business with the signs showing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So like the exterior and interior photos that you would
Yeah.
add to
But not necessarily as much as the interior. Yes, those help users. But Google, when you have a business, when you have a listing, if the address shows, you have to be able to show that there is permanent exterior signage. So it can't be like, and I've seen these, it
Oh,
can't
yeah.
be,
Yeah.
a piece of paper. It has to be legit permanent signage in the ground, on the road, on the building, whatever. So I'm saying is if they don't have that, or if they have it and you can't see it on the listing, make sure that it's in there. I know that's separate from the issue you were raising, but
Yeah.
if the address shows, you need to have signage showing in the photos. And if not, somebody could report it and it would probably go down.
Yeah. And I was thinking, so the first thing I did was, I just created a couple of posts just to update his profile. But I was thinking of making a post and putting the map coordinates in there, just another post with some map coordinates, and just trying to feed Google some stuff.
I mean, to be honest, if you wanted to optimize something beyond the basics, my biggest things are adding content.
Yeah.
So content being posts, checking on and updating services, photos on a regular basis.
Yeah.
All of that, responding to reviews, all of that counts. Google seems to thrive on interaction.
Yeah.
And the more that you go in and even add little things like respond to one thing, post one photo, that seems to really help in that sometimes you will see listings that have fewer reviews actually do better than their competitors because of the fact that there's more interaction going on. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's pretty easy for them to do. I mean, they take, like Yeti tumblers and engrave, business names on it. So every day they're creating, product that they've, produced.
Well, let me just
Definitely add
remind
that
you
picture.
one thing too with photos. Just make sure they're not only posting photos of their products. People want to see where, when I walk, like where the door is, right? If the door is on the side, somehow indicate that. When you walk in, have people in the photos, have somebody holding something, or show the back of a person working on something, maybe working on the equipment, working on the machines, because people want to see that. And it also, as I said, it also helps stave off people who are looking to report them.
Yeah.
Spam,
And also with photos, if they're doing an engraving and they're working, have someone do a quick little video. You can do a video, speed it up, and have some stuff. Have them add a little video of that as well. That works too. Pictures, videos, include people for sure. That's one of
I would also look at services too, because I actually saw what may be a test today where services which are currently only shown on mobile, I actually saw them today. I was pulling them up and I was like, because to me, services are important more because you're catching justifications.
Yeah.
Right. Where it says, provides. And I was really, really surprised because I saw them on desktop. And when you click on it, and this may have been a test, but when you click on it, it shows their entire list of services. Now, to some people, you just, if you create something, right, you would say, engraved this, embroidered that, whatever. But when you don't produce a physical item, when you produce a service, same thing. You go in there, like for attorneys, you would put personal injury, defense, or personal injury litigation. Don't ever just leave it at the two words, right? At the two pretty much adjectives. Always have something at the end there. Why? Because Google not only picks them up, but if this test gets put into place, gets implemented, you're going to see the same thing. It's going to be provides, and then you're going to see these things. And so you should have, civil, No, it should be civil litigation or, I don't know, whatever, family
Personal
law,
injury, you don't
litigation,
provide
or
personal injury.
criminal, what was it? Domestic violence.
Domestic
You want to
violence.
say that you provide domestic violence. You want to say you provide domestic violence defense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So again, I
advocates
saw this
for.
today. I saw one person who could duplicate it, but it's just something to remember ongoing. Services are going to be the services are a big deal. So it's something to keep an eye on your listings, both things that Google puts on there as well as variations on terms that you've come up for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you request a postcard validation? I was wondering,
Yes.
well, maybe we'll just do that and see if that triggers something, in the database.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can.
And one thing is, I kind of would tell the client not necessarily to worry about if they're opening maps that their business doesn't show, because primarily, you're wanting to show when people are looking for your search terms.
Right.
And so that's where the focus should be. I wouldn't spend time just having it, because I think one thing is Google, when they look at it, you open the map and it just pops up. And then the first thing you do is search for something. So most people going on there aren't just going to go to an area and say, well, what's in the area? They might say, okay, what restaurants in the area? What spa is in the area? What engraving place? They're going to, primarily look for something specific. And, like I said, Google just simply decides what to show. And if they've got a lot of businesses around them, they're probably going to pick the ones that are most, have high visitors. You can just kind of look and see who is getting shown on the maps. So I wouldn't.
I think this is to satisfy the owner's ego. I think you're exactly right. I mean,
But
it really
I would tell him to
doesn't
spend
affect
his
his
time
business at all.
on something else that's going to impact his business. Because I think just pulling up the map and having it show there is not going to have really, I think he's going to be just kind of wasting time.
Yeah.
And I would spend time on the things that Amy mentioned, because those are going to actually make an impact when people are searching either for his business or his services keywords.
Yeah, if the business comes up when you search the key term or the primary category, and the business comes up in a brand search, I wouldn't worry about the rest of it.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't.
He ranks very well. He ranks very well for his main search terms.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it then.
I wouldn't either. And one thing you mentioned was getting a re-verification. And so, Amy, I think if you request a re-verification and it says, I think it'll say, waiting for the verification, it has to send the postcard. During that time, is it going to say not verified? Because I haven't requested if it's already verified, I haven't done anything to trigger a re-verification. But I know when you re-verify, there are times that you can't do things that show publicly. So is that still the case? So I'm thinking that if they do and request a re-verification, there might be that time frame where they're waiting on that postcard where they can't do things publicly on their profile, and that could actually hurt their rankings. But if they, for some reason, somebody leaves a bad review and they can't reply to it, so I would discourage them from doing that. If it's already verified and the address is correct, I wouldn't re-verify the address.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to say the same thing. It's just, to me, it's just kind of a non-issue.
Yeah.
Again, as long as they come up in a brand search and they come up for their primary category, there's kind of nothing else there that they should really worry about.
Yeah.
That stops behaving that way,
Yeah, that's pretty much what I told them. But and they kind of sometimes they look at us, well, you guys can you've solved every problem. Solve this one. It's almost like a challenge.
But you have to explain it's not a problem. But it's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
It's just
Google's working as intended.
Yeah.
So okay. So let's see. Your next question is rankings drop. How do you diagnose and troubleshoot?
Yeah. So occasionally, and I know that there are, algorithm updates and the, spam update that occurred in end of October, November, whatever. Every once in a while, we'll see rankings drop. A lot of times if I see a major drop, I think it's just a database glitch. So I use SEO Power Suite to do my rank tracking, and it'll show, movement up or down. Movement 1 or 2 positions either way is not an issue. But, if something was position 2 and now it's position 24,
Yeah.
and there's a group of those that did that, I'll sort of walk away for that day and come back in a couple days and run it again and just see if it's a database glitch. Sometimes it is.
Is this when you say that rankings drop, is this rankings when they're searching on the map or just in regular Google search?
No, so this should be a separate business, separate issue altogether. So we will take a local business and pair their location with their service or services, and then get them ranked. And lately I've seen a couple of them where they were ranked very favorably, and then I pull up the report. I'm getting ready to send the report to them, and then I look and I go, oh man, they're tanking for some of these, and I can't send them the report today. I'm going to wait a couple of days and see if sometimes it's just a data glitch, and I've explained that to clients before. But the process, just kind of curious what the process is to diagnose and troubleshoot. So the first thing I do is, all right, so what algorithm updates were there? And I mentioned like the spam algorithm update. And I look at the pages and, they weren't spam. They're not spam. And so, that can't be it. And so
I would look at the ones that ranking above them, because they moved down. Is there something that they are doing differently? See if there's any correlation with that, as far as if there's anything different that they're doing. There's a lot of different ways it's good. Amy, where would you start?
I would go into analytics, and I would look at if there, first of all, I believe in looking at the big picture. Like monthly reports to me wouldn't give like a full picture of what's going on. Like it doesn't give the broad picture. I mean, if I haven't been doing them, but I would do more of a quarterly, because part of the problem is things go up and things go down. They do it on a daily basis. They go, and a lot of times, like last year, there was a big update in, I want to say November. And of my clients, I think I only had one who was really affected by it. I have a good number of clients. And it was interesting because we kind of knew that they were affected, but then the question became, why weren't the others? So, I mean, generally I go into analytics and I look and see where this is coming from. Was it specific to a certain day or time? Was it a long time coming? Or what else was going on? Like we've had some times where the clients have been in the news. So you will see a bump, and all of a sudden this one page that nobody has looked at for 10 months, all of a sudden the one page will come up. The problem is that when you then do, and I just handed one in like this, when you look at their numbers for the whole year, they had a surge in a couple days. Their numbers for that entire year will look like astronomical, but you're like, no, you have to take this into context. Yeah. So I guess what I would say is I would look at the algorithm shift updates. I would look at the big picture to see if you can time it specifically to that, and then go and see what others have said about that, and how they have identified it and how they have tried to recover from it. The other things I would look at is local news. Sometimes, because of, especially like with attorneys, you will see if there's something that happened in the news locally, their blogs on that topic. I mean, we had somebody something had happened in the NCAA basketball last year. I think somebody got suspended or something happened. And then out of nowhere, one of our clients who had written a couple blogs on NCAA, like the types of problems, they had a huge number of hits over like 2 or 3 days. Went back down again, but for 2 or 3 days, they were like the kings for that topic. So I think you, like I said, local news, you want to look at the analytics that came before it. You want to look at the write-ups on any shifts that came. You want to look at local situations. Local situations also could be as something like, are you representing somebody who has been in the news, right? Or who has gone on social and done a lot. We had a client who was representing someone who had a problem at, I don't know, it was like a fast food place or something. And the client, I don't know how they got connected, but basically there was a huge amount of traffic coming into the attorney, even though I didn't think there was much connecting them, but apparently there was. You also don't know based on if somebody's going to do something to you on social, and then you're either going to go up or go down based on if people then go and take it out on your Google reviews. So I would look into all of these, but generally I would take a big picture about it. Going down 1 day or 2 days is important, but it's more important to look at it over 4 weeks or 6 weeks to get a bigger picture.
Yeah. Talking about analytics, also, just following up with what Amy is saying, check and see, was there specific topics that pages and that got a lot of attention before, that the attention to that page, the traffic to that page has decreased, and there's a reason why. I just kind of look and see, where the decreases are as far as, the pages, the traffic is going to. And the search terms as well. There might be, like Amy was mentioning, a search term that's popular in the news and you were previously getting a lot of traffic and now not. So definitely the analytics. And one thing is to, because I've been seeing this a lot, is you all know Universal Analytics is going away July 1st. I say going away. We can look it up and talk about it, but you need to make sure you have GA4 installed and collecting data for your website. So, and that kind of also goes back to, if you haven't installed it yet and you install it now and you come in July and you want to look back and see what July 2022 looked like, you're not going to have that data. You've got to start collecting it now. And in order to have that previous data, because they're not going to show your past data. Your GA Universal and GA4, that they do not connect. So you're not
also, just a quick thing to add on to that. Don't forget to add triggers for any forms that are filled out, because oftentimes you have to set that up separately.
Yes. And I think before, in Universal, I think they were called goals. Now it's like events and then conversions. So make sure you're setting those up as well. So yeah. Okay.
Just curious on that. So this would be all new work that we would have to do for a client. Are any of you or anybody that's on offering this and just saying, this is what's coming, and it's going to cost you $2,000 to get this set up, or some sort of package or offer?
I will email you, Bill, because literally just yesterday I set up my GA4 packages and sent them out to somebody. So I will email that to you as well. And when you say this, you're talking about setting up GA4 for the clients, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, setting up GA4, the triggers, and then the reporting, I think is one of the big issues. Like, are you going to buy a third-party reporting system, or are you going to take the time to create some templates? It's it's a considerable amount of work if you've got a number of clients.
Yeah, that's something that I actually, and now that you mentioned one part, I'm going to add another tier to it. I have different tiers of service. So I'll send you an email. I'll try to get that followed up with today, because that is something that I've been talking about for a while, because I do it, and I've noticed, clients not having it. And it's like, oh, well, we don't need to worry about it until July. And I'm like, no, you need to collect the data. And then the other thing is, we were talking about previously, it's called goals. Now in GA4, they like to confuse us. They're changing it to events and then conversions. You set up the event, but then you also need to set up and say, this is a conversion, so that if you know that someone reached that conversion, they converted. And if you don't set those up now, you won't be able to see who actually converted. But at least you're going to get data if you set up GA4. So you need to set up GA4. You need to set up your event/conversions so that you have all the data. Let's see. So I will, Karen asked me to send it to her as well. I'm going to be getting it on my website, but I'll go ahead and email you all since I've got that information. But yeah, and the reporting part is something I'm doing, but I do need to like add that in as a part of my package. So
yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And I want to try, especially for agencies, try to get them, because I've talked to a lot. I went to R3 in November, which is recurring revenue retreat for agencies. And, I was talking to quite a few agencies, and I noticed a lot of them haven't added GA4 to their client sites. And I'm like, you really got to get that added. It's really important, because you've got a website. How's it performing? Is what you're doing working?
Yeah.
That's so important to know. So yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's go to our next question, Devin. And Devin, you can unmute if you want to and come on, but I'll just say, it says, when wanting to add a new business location to your Google business profile, do you do it by clicking add a new business profile? In addition, what are the major pitfalls to try to avoid? Okay, I'm gonna share screen, I think. And I am logged in to my business. So, and while we're here, I'm going to just mention that this is the new experience on Google. Before, you used to have a dashboard and you used to click it and it'd have all this information. Now, if you've got more than one business, you're going to have your businesses listed, but when you click on it, it's going to go to the search. I think there are a few temporary ways around this, but I haven't gotten them to work on mine.
There aren't. They've gotten rid of most of them.
Yeah,
they've gotten rid of most of them.
I never got them to work anyway. So this is the new Google experience for your dashboard. Google says deal with it. So I will say that I think it's kind of funny how Google's all into our website needs to be a good user experience. I will tell you, this is not a good user experience for me. Digging around, trying to find things, and I found it very difficult. I've looked at things and just not been able to find them, and had to go through each little thing and still not found it. Okay, that's enough of my complaining about that. Okay, so your first question is, so if you already have a business and you want to add it, when you search and you've got your business here, you can just click on add a new business profile, and then you're going to add your information. Now, if I'm not going to do this because I'm not sure what I'm logged in. Oh, let me go to my incognito. Okay, so hopefully I'm not logged in. Okay, so if you don't have any profiles, you're setting one up, just go to business.google.com. And you want to sign into whatever email account you're going to use, and it's going to, say start, and then you're going to, let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to sign in because I don't know what I've got, but it's going to be.
We have already set up, and so we're actually adding a second location.
Okay.
Kind of open up a new office in another association.
Okay.
So just trying to make sure that.
Yeah. So that's how you do it now. You are asking for some information as far as tips to help you get listed, get your profile up and going. And this was something I was actually talking about recently. So the first thing is you have to add your address, phone number, and website, your kind of phone name, phone number, address. So the first thing is making sure you get all that information correct the first time. Your business name needs to be match your signage, match your Secretary of State or DBA. It also needs to match your website, anything online. So like my business is Your Biz Watchdog. That's what I've got on the Secretary of State. If I didn't have that, I would need to have a DBA. I've got that on all my social media. I've got that on the Better Business Bureau. I've got that on any business associations. So make sure that the name is consistent. That's one of the things I see, you know, people's like, oh, well, and they'll shorten or they'll add more to it. No, that's your name. It needs to be your legal name, be consistent. First part. The second part is it's going to ask for your address. And this is the one, the three different types when you're putting in Google as far as your address. You've got your brick and mortar store, which it sounds like they are. Do people come into your location?
Yeah, so with our current address, it's brick and mortar. We own the building. In the second address, we have a partnership with a local association that we're able to rent an office on their location.
And now, let's see. So that that office that you rent, does it have your signage for your business either outside or on the door to that office?
So they asked what I talked to them last Friday and said there are some requirements Google will need. And I said signage was one, but I wasn't sure if it needed to be on the building, on the outside of the office door, like what the criteria was.
I would say a part of that, basically Google says the businesses needs to, and I have this printed that I had shown. So this is exactly what they say. The businesses showing their address on Google should maintain permanent fixed signage of their business name at the address. So if they can, I like to have it outside. If they can't, you definitely need to have fixed signage on the door, because there are places where, like if you're a suite, it kind of depends. So I've seen businesses that have numerous businesses in a building. They'll have the signage outside listing the different businesses, and then inside they'll also have the business on the suite. If you can do that, do that.
Okay.
If they don't have the outside signage, it's okay. I prefer the outside signage as well, but sometimes you just can't do that. But make sure you've got that fixed signage on their door, their suite number that has, and I make sure you have that. That's one thing you see people with, like, you know, they'll tape something up and it's not fixed signage. It's got to be fixed. You also need to make sure that that basically your employees are there during your fixed business hours, and it's not a situation where it's like not a virtual office where somebody else is answering your phones, things like that. It's your physical office. Let's see, because there are things that Google doesn't allow, like virtual offices where you just rent out a mailing address. That's not allowed. You've got to actually have your employees there. Your signage needs to be clear. You need to be open during business hours. And when I say staff, your staff, and not the facility staff.
Right.
So as long as those are things that you have, and I would keep photos of all that information. I put them on your profile, but I would also just make sure that you have those in case anything comes up. And let's see. So I think, Amy, did I miss something?
You don't need to have exterior signage. You need to have signage on the door. It needs to be permanent. You also need to have a suite number in the listing. You also want to make sure that no one else had it before you using that address and that suite number. Make sure that if there was, that they were permanently closed.
Yes.
Because if you apply with the same information on a live listing, they won't approve it. You also want to make sure that you have at least 3 pieces of documentation that that support both the listing title and the address you're using. So if it's a second office, you want to make sure that your business name is on, say, utility bill, or it's on the rent or lease information. If you have like cable bill, water bill, electric, any of those, you want to make sure that they're using the exact title. We had one recently, and we had 2 pieces of documentation were excellent. The third one wasn't. I held off. I said, we're not submitting it yet. They got it corrected with the landlord. We submitted it and we got it back within a week when everyone else is waiting 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Because
that's
reinstatements
definitely
are a little tough, and Google looks for everything to be consistent.
Yeah.
You also want to make sure that, and this is in order for them to verify the listing, as quickly as possible. Make sure that your information for that location is shown on your website already and in your social and in directories, so that if they go out and look online to see, you look for your presence, then they won't have any difficulty finding it. And again, I would also Google that address and the suite number specifically to make sure that you're aware of anyone else who might have been using that address.
So for like the pieces of documents supporting our, such as the utility bill, water bill, that stuff, if that's all included in the rent, could I just have the rent agreement and maybe like a magazine?
It can't be invoices.
No,
No invoices.
see, like possibly, if you have insurance, I would think that maybe they would list all your locations.
Okay.
Have that. If you get bank statements there, something official like that with the business name, address.
If you have documentation like your DBA, your LLC, your assumed name, those will go for the title, and then you just need something for the address. So you wouldn't necessarily need, a bunch of them for the address.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
long as you you can document the title, you can have like one or two things for the address. Plus for the address, you make sure that you have those photos of the permanent signage at the door with the suite number on the door. Because sometimes you'll see one but not the other, but you want to have both. Also, you want to have, if there's a reception area or the equivalent of that, make sure that there is signage in there. Post those photos. If you get suspended, you want to make sure that you have those photos available as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Also, when you are setting up your profile and getting verified, and you're entering, phone, address, name, phone, all that stuff, and you get to the part where it's like, okay, send me a postcard. If that's the only option, that's what you're doing. Once you say, send me a postcard, don't make any other changes after that until you've gotten verified. I haven't done, most of my clients come to me and are already verified. I think that used to be a thing, Amy. Is that still a thing where, like, once you request that postcard, if you make changes to your profile, you will have to then get another postcard if you make changes. So
if you don't get, I will say, if you don't get the postcard within 14, the code on the postcard is good for 30 days. So if a person doesn't get it, you want to request a new one, but be aware that if you request a new one and then get the old one, don't put the first one in. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're waiting for the second one, because you don't want to screw things up. And if you don't get one after 30 days, then you want to go to support. But the thing I want to point out is they are slowly moving to video verifications for everyone. So that's another reason why. One of the things that they may ask you, and they have asked people, and they have told us from Google that they're doing, is they're often asking in those videos to show the documentation that I mentioned. So, and other similar things like tools of your business, right? So it's like, well, what do I do if I'm a service? Well, you know what? If you're an attorney, show them your conference room, show them your diplomas, something like that. But just be aware that you don't have a choice on the type of verification that's offered. It's not even offered. They just say, this is what we're going to do. And as more and more businesses, as Google kind of rolls this out fully, you may be asked to do video verification, which is also going to include you walking around a little bit with things like, show us the street in front, show us the front of the building, show us customer areas. So
you need to be there at the location when you do that video verification, to show them your location.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's rolling out at some point. That's going to just be the standard. It's going to be video verification.
Yeah. The other thing, let's see, I was going to add something, but I'm not sure what it was now. You're brick and mortar, but I did want to mention something about the service area businesses. Those are businesses that actually hide their address because they, for example, like me, I work out of my home. People don't come to me. You still need to be specific on your address, and it needs to match those things we just went over. Because if you get your account suspended, Google knows what address you verified, and you can't verify. I say can't. Do not verify with the UPS store address or any of those type of addresses or virtual office. You may by chance be verified there, but you have a high risk of suspension and causing problems, so don't do it. And simply because you see others verified there does not mean that you should do it as well. You know,
I want to point something out though about that. If any of you all deal with franchises that have service, is that part of their deal is that they cover a certain area. I've dealt with 2 or 3 people who have purchased a specific franchise for 5 years at a shot, right? Or is it 10? Might even have been 10. Anyway, that franchise is, and I'm not going to name it, is very, very odd about how they tell people to register their location. Just be aware, and this is, I know this is maybe a fringe case, but if you register for a service area business, wherever you register it, it has to be a legit address. Specifically because if you get suspended and you need to produce your documentation, it needs to match, like say your home, or it has to match a legit location, even if that location does not show. Here's part of the problem for franchises. I had one, and I've had actually more than one, but one specifically I worked with, where she lived 45 minutes south of the area that she, owned. And when she got suspended for moving her location too much because she knew that her location wasn't legit, she had to have documentation to get the listing back. Okay, fine. What she did was she changed that location, that address, to her home. The problem was, remember I said she lived 45 minutes south? Google is now not recommending her in the area where she had the fake address. They're now recommending her near her home.
Yeah.
So if you're working with franchises, make sure that they understand the rules and that they have a legit location. Because she said to me, what am I supposed to do? I said, A, you're going to bulk up on paid ads, and B, find yourself an office there for, however, a legit office there for however much per month. Said, because it's really the only thing you can do, because you're locked in for another, I think she said like 7 years or 5 years.
Wow.
But it's just something to remember, that even if your address doesn't show, you can get slammed. And if you get slammed and have to change your location, location to the place where your paperwork is registered, that may change the areas in which you're recommended, because of course everyone knows that despite your ability to put in service areas in your listing, all that does is serve to draw the map. It doesn't tell Google, it doesn't suggest to Google where you should be recommended. Google will only recommend you in an area where your address is the centroid. So you can say, I have, 3 counties over, but Google's not going to recommend you for that. They're only going to recommend you depending on, the density of your area, the geography, things like that. So,
and because the relevance is basically the distance between the searcher and your business. So if the searcher is near your business, the address, even if it's a service area business, they're going to look and see how far away you are from that address that is in Google, even if it's hidden. So just like Amy was saying, if they're looking 3 counties out and you're over here, they're not going to show you because the searcher is searching over here, even though you're saying this is your service area. Unless you're the only one in the whole area, Google's probably not going to show you. So those were a few things on the service area, which is a little bit different. But again, address is really, really important when you're getting your business verified.
I would also consider when you're getting a new listing started, what your cover image is going to be, because cover images really do kind of draw people into things. I like to try, unless you have, say, a specific product or thing that you manufacture, I really like to have humans in the photo, especially if you provide a service. If you have, say, if you're like working with something like a plumber where you have wrapped vehicles, those are also really helpful. But just try really hard to have a good looking cover image, because if you have bricks and mortar, that cover image is a lot smaller.
Mhm.
And so you just want to try your best to have something that catches people's eye. And that's usually not, necessarily just a picture of a blank piece of property or something like that. That's another reason why, if you have your business your business located at in a residential area, to have the signage out front, just so it's a little bit more attractive. You also want to go in once the listing gets verified and add more photos on a regular basis. That definitely helps.
Google loves photos. Add those photos regularly. And ask customers too as well. Because Google really likes customer photos. So
the biggest thing is, at the end of your question, is major pitfalls. Making sure that you are using the legit address, that your business title, the listing title, does not exceed what is on your paperwork, right? Don't add your address, don't add additional services. Categories, look into categories. There's a tool called Plepper, P-L-E-P-E-R. That is very good for helping you learn what categories are available. Make sure that your primary category is as close as possible to the service you provide. Putting in your other categories is helpful. It's not as helpful as the primary category. Services, put in variations on your service. If you provide one service and there's 3 different terms for it, put them all in there.
yeah.
And then photos are really helpful. And then start doing Google My Business posts. Those also tell a lot about your business, and have them link back. Don't have them all be call. Have some of them be linked back to your website.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Okay.
Good luck. I hope you do well.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Yes, good. And again, if you're working on it and have questions, and definitely post them in the meetup, and I'll get emails for that and see. But
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with that, and hopefully everything goes smoothly. So,
I'll let you know.
and that's one thing I like to tell people when verifying their business. Don't just go to Google and start verifying. Get your paperwork together and your photos and your documentation ahead of time. That's kind of the one of the most important things. Get your stuff together ahead of time, and don't just start putting stuff in, because you want to make sure you're ready for it. You want to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row before you start.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's see what we've got about a couple minutes left. And I don't see any other questions. I'm trying to think. I had some notes because I didn't have any questions that were posted in the meetup, but you guys put them in the chat, so that's good. And I am looking to see if I had any notes, and
I actually have one thing that could be bring up. It's about reviews. Continually ask for reviews on a regular basis, positive reviews. But just remember that if you don't think there's something right about the review, go in and flag it, right? Go in and report it and make sure that it is something that you get to the attention of Google. If you get attacked, if you get a lot of reviews in a short period of time, and especially if it's been spurred by a social media event or something in the news, or one of your people just doing something they shouldn't, make sure you go onto the Google Business Profile Help Forum and you post about it. It's really helpful. I'm on there. There's several other people on there who are all lovely, very willing to help. But don't let your rating go down because you don't know how to flag something. You don't know how to report it to Google, but it's the Google Business Profile Help Forum, especially for attacks on your listings, on your reviews.
Definitely continue to get those reviews, because earlier this year, I think it was in March of this year, Google did strengthen their review filter. So you might notice that there are reviews that maybe clients said they left your review, but you look and it's not live. That could be caught in the review filter. And sometimes there are a couple things you need to make sure that you're not doing, but sometimes Google will simply say it's working as expected. One thing is if you do have a brick and mortar location and you've got Wi-Fi, when you're asking them to leave a review, make sure they're either not at your location or ask them to turn off their Wi-Fi, because if you're using the same Wi-Fi, that's a flag for Google and they may will most likely filter it out and not show it live. That's one of the things. Try to get here's the thing is most of the time people are having trouble just simply getting reviews. So just ask for the reviews, put a review process in place where you're following up with emails, because a lot of times people have an intention of leaving a review, but if you don't follow up with them with the email, remind them, they may not do it. So go ahead and make sure you're asking, you're following through with it. Reviews with longer text, they tend to do better and stay at the top of profile, sometimes a little bit longer. So the main thing, if you're having a hard time just getting reviews, just ask for them. But if you've got somebody you know that's going to leave your review and is talking about it, just say, well, that's great. Try to put as much detail as possible. If you've got some pictures you can upload with it too, that's great as well. Longer reviews work. I don't know. Several just different things as far as reviews, but the filter is the one I've seen the most. A lot of people saying that they've had a client leave a review and it's not showing up. And
Google's
so
also
you
going
can
back
request-
and they're taking some reviews down from prior times. They're taking reviews down. The things to make sure that you do going forward, a big nice thing is to take a screenshot of every review that you have.
Yeah.
Another thing is whenever you receive a notification email, save it. Do not get rid of those, because if you ever have a problem, that is one of the things that we will ask for to be able to prove to Google that there was a problem of some sort. But one of the things that you can do, there's two things you can do with if you are missing reviews, especially a chunk of them. One of them is they're either going to ask you to provide screenshots of the individual reviews, and that can be from either maybe a review that was there and then it went away, or it can be from somebody's phone, like somebody entered the review, send you a screenshot, which is also a very good idea. But either that, or you may be asked for copies of the emails, the notification email, and specifically the links that were contained within it. So it'll say like, click here to view. And they want to know where that link goes. And I've seen those come in handy a lot of times. So just remember that. Don't delete those when they come in. And make an effort to start taking screenshots of your listings. Unless, of course, you have a service that you're using to get reviews. If you have those, hopefully maybe you can check in and make sure that they are saving copies of those.
Yeah, definitely. So. Okay, so we are right at our time is up for 2022. So thank you so much for joining me, Amy Toman. I appreciate you coming on and helping with their Q&A today. We will be back in January 11th of 2023. That's Wednesday, January 11th. It's the second Wednesday of the month. I will work on getting this video posted to YouTube. And again, if you've got questions, post it in the meetup, and we will see you next year. You guys have a happy holidays and a great new year.